Hare Krishna. Welcome to the ISKCON Auckland Rise podcast, where we connect with great minds and transform lives. Today we have with us a special guest. She is an initiated disciple of the founder of ISKCON, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. She started and grew a school from her early days and is now recognized as one of the most influential educators in the field. She's an excellent teacher, a prolific author, and a writer. She is also the chair of the Shastrik Committee, which is an advisory committee to the GBC. And she was in Auckland recently doing a very intense course and training up about 12 devotees to provide guidance on careers. So we are extremely fortunate to have Her Grace Urmila Mataji with us. Hare Krishna Mataji.
I'm fortunate to be here. Thank you.
So you've been in Auckland many times. It's not a new place for you. How was this experience?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. It's nice seeing so many old dear friends and so many new devotees, a vibrant community, the school's growing, the holy when you got the Prime Minister of New Zealand to come.
Yes.
So that's really nice, and so much interest in really instituting Srila Prabhupada's desires.
Right.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji. Great to host you. Mataji, I had a question which people ask, and sometimes it's also a point of discussion for many, especially from an education and teaching perspective. We see currently that the profession of teaching in some countries has moved on to a situation where people who don't get an education or a degree in so-called intellectual courses like engineering or doctors or commerce, and they have nothing else to do, they get trained as teachers in some countries, not all. And so that's one perspective. The second perspective is the way we are in this current society, especially New Zealand, I'm not sure about US, where because of the state laws and the aspects in which teachers need to impart education, they don't have that level of discipline that they can instill in the students. And so, like in our simple question, in our times, we used to respect the teachers, in fact, even fear the teachers a lot. And now I see it's gone the other way, where the teachers are more fearful of students that the parents should not come next day with the sticks and complain. And although it sounds funny, but I've had teachers who actually got frustrated from here and either left the profession or the country. So my question is, you've been traveling extensively and seeing teachers from a very close quarter. How do you see the evolution of the teaching as a profession with respect to these challenges?
Well, with your first point, I think teaching has become considered a lower profession in much of the world for quite a while now. Like, if you can't teach. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just in India then.
No, it's a problem everywhere, and that parents don't feel so enthusiastic about having their children become teachers. Low pay, low status in society, lots of long hours. As far as the respect, you're pointing out a problem that's happening across the board for authority. And I talked about this a little bit in my class the other morning at the temple, how if we look at Europe, say, but we had a similar but different situation in India, where for a while the Catholic Church was the main influence in Europe.
Right.
And the church became corrupt. So the rulers who had been under church authority threw out the church. You have, say, in the UK, where they had the Anglican Revolution, they threw out the church. And then you had these autocratic kings without any religious guidance. So they quickly became corrupt. And then we had, the French Revolution and the American Revolution to throw out the kings and to establish a democratic government of civilian leaders who weren't necessarily trained in ruling at all. And there's become a growing distrust in government and distrust in the military, distrust in the police, distrust in politicians, so that often the most powerful people are in business. And we don't trust them either. So often our main heroes in society are entertainers and athletes,
Correct.
you know?
Yes.
But across the board, we've kind of thrown out respect for authority. It's just women are afraid that men are going to be abusive and cruel and exploitive. Children are worried that their parents or their teachers are going, not just teachers, but parents.
Yes.
So
Definitely.
it's a general problem that there's a lack of respect for authority. I mean, if we want to think about teaching in general and expertise in, intellectual scholarly expertise in general, now that anybody can write, anything
Yeah.
online and without any training or expertise or education, but sound authoritative, people have a hard time even distinguishing who's an expert, who's not an expert. And the concept that a medical doctor might be more of an expert than, your auntie it's not there anymore.
The line is fuzzing.
Yeah. So there's a general disrespect for authority in every field. Medicine, philosophy, religion, education, parenting, family, government, business. We don't trust authority anymore. And we don't trust authority for good reason. There was corruption in authority. The problem is that without respect for authority and without good authority, society is chaotic. So what is the solution for this? The solution for this is to have, again, respectable, trustworthy people in positions of authority, which is a lot of Srila Prabhupada's mission. You can say Prabhupada had like an internal mission for all of us to develop Krishna Prema. But he also had a mission for how we could manifest devotion in the world and what Krishna wants to happen in the world. And one of that is to have saintly leaders of high integrity in all areas so that people can respect authority and they can be guided by authority. But yeah, this is not just a problem with teachers. It's
Right across.
It's right across everything.
You're right. And I guess your book, Career Dharma, is now getting a lot of popularity, especially amongst devotees.
Well, it was a bestseller on Amazon for 2 months.
Right. So, just out of interest, Mataji, what prompted you or what inspired you to, in fact, embark on the mission of writing the book? And I have understood that you've got a bigger plan, not just writing a book and distributing it, but there's a bigger plan in your mind.
Well, a bigger plan that's already started to unfold.
Could you just tell the viewers about it?
Okay. Well, how did I get started on it? I'd say it began in the 80s when I first took a course in personality styles.
Right.
And I was already teaching children at that point for quite a few years. So it was sort of revolutionary that, wow, there's intrinsically different types of people. And the ideal for a particular individual is going to look different than the ideal for a different individual, depending on what category of personality they were. That was a revolutionary insight for me. It changed my whole paradigm. It changed my whole view of life, changed my whole dealings with everyone in my environment, and especially the children I was teaching, but everybody. That my goal as a teacher was to help each student become the best version of themselves, the best version of their type, not some generic best. So that was really where it began. And once I got that, once I understood that, then I started looking at the words in the Shastras from Srila Prabhupada, from our Acharyas, in that light. And gradually, understanding kept kind of unfolding in that regard, that ideal is different. What humility looks like is different. What devotion looks like is different. It's not all the same. Arjuna's devotion looked like killing people on a battlefield.
Fantastic.
you know. Whereas Sudama the florist in Mathura, his devotion was stringing flowers. And, as that gradually, with that lens, things started to fall into place. And I would talk about Varnas, particularly in my classes here and there when it was appropriate, when it came up in the verse. And then more and more people would come up to me and say, Urmila, this is really helpful. You should write a book on it.
Right.
And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to write a book on this. I spent 3 years publishing Raghunath Das Goswami's Manashiksha. And I thought, I want to work more on stuff like this, on the inner spiritual life,
Right.
our relationship with Krishna. And I don't know if I want to get involved with these things, but people kept asking me. And I thought, all right, let's just get this out of the way. So then I went, my co-author, Dr. Ruchira Datta, her initiated name is Rukmini, but she's not my god sister Rukmini, who's married to Anuttama. She's not that Rukmini.
Right.
And people often assume it's that Rukmini, and I'm thinking, do you really think that Rukmini has a last name of Datta? So anyway, I met Rukmini, Dr. Ruchira Datta, and we immediately hit it off. We were corresponding, and I forget exactly what it was. She wrote something in an email about socioeconomic systems, and I said, hey, how would you like to collaborate with me on a book about Varna Dharma? And she had some open time, so she said, sure.
Right.
So, so we went to New Vrindavan, and we worked there for a month together, and then we worked in Denver for 3 weeks, in Hawaii for 6 weeks, and then online almost every day, altogether about 6 years.
Wow.
But yeah, I had first thought, well, it's going to be a simple 40-page booklet. And I think by day 3 of working with Rukmini, I'm like, nah, that's not what it's going to be. It's going to be an in-depth scholarly book.
And I guess as you got into it, you realized the depth that you still need to perhaps find out.
Yes. Also, Rukmini is a deep digger, a deep and wide digger. She added so much. I tell her all the time that the book is 100 times better because of her involvement than it would have been if just I did it. She could see from many more angles of vision than I can, and we have overlapping areas of knowledge, but we each have knowledge the other one doesn't. So she brought a lot of things to the table that I didn't know. And for every point, she would insist on making sure we covered any possible argument we could think of against it,
Right.
and to give examples. And that's why it's such a big book. Oh, and you were asking about what else is happening. So, the book's already been produced now as a paperback and an ebook and an audiobook. So we recently released the audiobook. And then we just recently released an fully online course with videos and interactive exercises at careerdharma.net.
Oh, great. So anybody can do that.
Anybody can do that.
Fantastic.
It's a self-paced, completely
Course.
pre-recorded and exercise component.
Right.
So we've done that. And then we've started, like we did here in Auckland, we've started training coaches to help other people find out what is their nature
Right.
and how can they work in their nature. So far we've had trainings in New York, in Belgium, in Radhadesh, then in Australia, in Melbourne and New Govardhan, and here in New Zealand, in Wellington and Auckland. And we have upcoming trainings in London, in India at Govardhan Eco Village near Mumbai,
Right.
and at New Vrindavan in America in West Virginia. So that's what's planned for this year. That's the first level of training, associate coach. We would like in the future, I haven't planned that out yet, but we'd like in the future to have 2 more levels, coach and then master coach, with the idea that master coach could also teach others.
Right.
So right now I'm focusing on teaching certifying associate coaches in as many places as possible, along with, I've been teaching now for at least more than 2 years, I think 3 years, just the basics of career dharma to live audiences as well. So I'm continuing to do that. And we have, it's in the beginning planning stages, but I just worked on it some more yesterday, having a simplified book, like kind of what I'd had in mind in the beginning.
The first
Yeah,
draft.
the first idea. So to actually do that, a simplified, probably 100, 150 pages, very simplified with a lot of reflective exercises and things like that.
Right.
I think now that we've done the big book, where, we have all of the citations and we have all the historical examples. We can have a simplified book with just stating things without having to prove them.
Right.
And saying, hey, if you want the proof, go to the big book.
That's a Bhagavatam, this is the Bhagavad Gita.
Something like that. Or this is more a Bhagavatam study guide, you could say. And then other thing is we're working right now with 2 communities to institute career dharma, not just for individuals, but as a system in the community. Because it's not just about what is my nature, but how do these 4 varnas work together in a community? Right. How should the community be organized according to Shastra? So we've been working now for at least 2 years with Radhadesh in Belgium and with New Govardhan in Australia. Wow. And in each of those places, we have at least one person who keeps that momentum going, and we have the strong support of the top leadership in those places.
Great.
So that's evolving. It's evolving slowly.
But it's great.
But it is evolving. And there's some interest in Bhakti Center in New York in also doing something like this, which would be very excellent because it's a city temple.
Right.
Whereas the other 2 are farm communities with cows and so forth. So once we have a model in ISKCON, then we can present that to regular political governments. Because I've talked to some people in the government of Suriname and Nepal, and they were very interested, but they said, do you have a model?
Right.
Do you have a working model?
Yes. So it's not just a book, it's just something to actually put into practice, because
yes,
that's the whole purpose, is for people to identify.
Yes.
So maybe just a quick one. People may have this, because people have some conception in terms of career guidance as it is currently imparted in the schools or universities. And people have got this as another option. So how is this career guidance any different from what we've got currently? Because people think, maybe it's just Shastrik, but it's just one of the other things.
Just Shastrik. Yeah, there we go. Just Shastrik.
I'm just
right. So that's
putting a perspective on that.
That's the thing, that it's just like what first got me started was personality styles training. And those things are valuable, they're useful, but they're imperfect. They're coming from imperfect beings who are doing the best they can and doing good and giving some guidance, but they're all flawed. Whereas the Shastric model is coming from God.
All right.
So that's a big difference. All of these other systems, again, they're good, they're useful. It's not that they're not useful tools. But they all have their defects. They all have their places where they don't fit. The people that they can't really serve, or the confusion in them. And every one of these systems has their detractors. And people who say, well, there's this study that shows it doesn't work, or something like that. Whereas when you're coming from Shastra, you're coming again from something Krishna says, Chaturvarna Maya Shristam, I created.
Correct.
It's something that God created. So that means it always exists. It's always real. It's always true. It's just a question of tapping into it. And then you can use these other career guidance things as adjuncts and as helps.
Add-ons.
To that. They can be assistants to that. But the basic framework is in truth. Now, another huge distinction between the Shastric model and these other models is that the Shastric model is based on something that's very hard to translate, and that's the word dharma.
Right.
People might think dharma is like ethics or morality. It isn't. It's principles, and it's a basic lens or paradigm through which one views life. And Prabhupada will talk about dharma as something intrinsic, like the dharma of sugar is to be sweet. It's something that's really part of us. How do I see the world and my place in the world? It's very outward facing. Like I had one person say to me, well, why don't you just ask people first, what do you like to do? And I said, because that's not necessarily going to reveal dharma. It might reveal something you do as a hobby for yourself, for your own enjoyment. Or someone will say something like, I like to play video games or something like that. What do I like to do? I like to sit down in the evening with a good book by the fireplace. I like to take long walks in the woods.
Correct.
But Dharma is about, what do I want to give? What do I feel drawn, impelled to give?
I think that's a huge shift, Mataji.
It is a very
because people are
big
thinking, what should I
shift.
get?
Yes.
What is it that I can use to get?
Yes. Now, career Dharma looks at that as well. It's not that we neglect that or negate that, but the main framework is, what do I want to give?
Right.
Because our Sanatan Dharma, what's our Sanatan Dharma is to serve.
Serve God, yeah.
To serve.
Yeah, to serve, essentially.
Yes. Like whenever people say, I have to do something, I'll say, the only things you have to do, you have to exist and you have to serve. Everything else is a choice. So we have to serve. We have to give. It's our basic nature. It's a basic nature of God.
Right.
Eko bahunam yovidadati kaman. He's the biggest giver. Nobody can give as much as he gives.
Another fact perhaps is a lot of these personality tests, as I understand it, is more like a tick box, like you're given a pieces of paper.
Yes.
You answer 100 or 200 questions.
Yes.
And then it's put into a computer sometimes, and it just spits it out and say, oh, you're this
Yes.
category.
That's right.
Now, there's no personal interaction or
Usually not.
understanding.
Usually.
Whereas what I'm made to understand is this, when you do actually sit with somebody and analyze their nature, it is actually a face-to-face, or at the worst, perhaps online.
Well, it can work online.
Right.
I do online coaching.
Mm-hmm.
But you get past, when you're doing this, you're getting past what people might think they are, what they've been told they are, what they've been trained to do well, what they think they should be, and what they actually are.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, if you go to one of these tick boxes thing, it would be very easy to put what I think I should put, or what I've been convinced by my family or my society or my school that I should be. And we really get with this system, with this Shastric system, we really get to people's essence. And you see that. You see that they're like, oh, yes, this is me.
Right.
And many people will say, wow, what a relief to see that this is me. This is who I am. This is what I'm meant to do.
And the confusions kind of go away. You see
Yes.
some direction.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Right. Right. Excellent. So yeah, I think it's just a wonderful thing. We hope the other levels come in and people actually realize their potential. Mati, just one more question in this regard. You touched briefly as you were talking about parenting, and I know it's a huge subject, but specifically, again, based on your travels and meeting so many families, children, that's another challenge parents normally face, is bringing up children appropriately, and especially as a devotee,
Mm-hmm.
with so much distraction and so little support on a
Yes.
regular basis. And today both parents are usually working. The children are coming home, having time with themselves, and Mr. Devices are there
Yes, yes.
as their third parent, sometimes people say. I mean, I know it's again very open question, but is there anything specific that you would like to tell, maybe one or two things that parents just need to be aware of and try to mindfully do to minimize challenges, if not eliminate them?
Well, one is to have real relationships with your children of love and trust, as Prabhupada would say. To not think that just because I'm the mother or just because I'm the father, my children just have to obey me. Maybe that worked 100 years ago,
Right.
or even 60 years ago, maybe. When people didn't travel much, they didn't communicate that much, they didn't have other examples besides their parents and their community. Most people were doing the same thing, following the same standard. You know, their parents, their extended family, their neighbors were pretty much all living a similar lifestyle. But today, forget it. Forget it. I mean, the kids are exposed. I mean, you'd have to lock your kid in a box, you know? If anyone thinks that my kid's not going to know what's going on, you're in an illusion. So they're going to be exposed to all kinds of things, even if you think you've sheltered them. You know, again, you'd have to shelter them so much that it became abusive to keep them from knowing what's going on.
Correct.
I mean,
Denying their rights.
you'd have to deny their human rights, because so if you're going to let them live a life, they're going to know
Right.
that my mother's and father's example and my mother's and father's instructions are not the only thing out there. we're wired not to obey. We're wired to please. And we're wired to please someone we love. It's the point Prabhupada makes all the time. He said, why should you serve Guru unless you love? So this relationship of love and trust we should be developing with our children. I mean, from the time they're like 2. If you're the, authoritarian or absent authoritarian, and then you try to clamp down as soon as the kids become teenagers, it's not going to work at all.
Yes.
You need to have a relationship of love and trust where the children want to please you, where they admire you or your friend, where you're honest and authentic with them. You don't present yourself as infallible, because as soon as they get to be 12 or 13, they'll know you're not infallible anyway. And the next thing is what we're talking about with career dharma, trying to understand your child's nature and giving them opportunities to explore that and to develop that and to do things that are meaningful. All human beings are purpose-driven entities. We all want to do things that are meaningful. So if your children have meaningful service in the Hare Krishna movement, they're much more likely to want to be part of it. If they feel that in the Hare Krishna movement, the meaningful service is all for adults, and the kids all have to go to other places, go to your own class and color pictures. I've often said, if you're always telling kids, get out, get out, get out, get out, then one day they say, okay, I'm getting out.
Literally.
So to engage them in actually meaningful service according to their nature, and before they become teenagers.
Correct.
At age 4 isn't too young to start having them do something meaningful. And I'd say certainly by 11, 14, absolute latest. Right. But have them do something where they have some healthy sense of, I'm doing something. I'm doing something that the adults value.
Correct.
Not just that I make some little craft project in Sunday school that my parents take a picture of.
Correct. And they exhibit their likings pretty much at that age, like 12, 13, 14?
Yeah, by 13, 14.
Right. So they essentially, it's up to the parents. In fact, I was just thinking.
And the teachers.
All parents should be doing this course to understand, for their kids at least.
But you want to give your children opportunity before that.
Right.
Because sometimes it's hard to know what your nature is if you don't have any opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice if before that you can do, like Prabhupada said, the children should do what the adults are doing. So they should have opportunity to work in different areas, as part of the movement or with people in their jobs, or if someone has home businesses, and be able to help out and kind of get a feel for it. To see that's called a samskar. I mean, a samskar isn't just a ritual. It's an impression. You go in some situation, you get an impression of it.
Right.
So that's also very, very important. It's also very important that, especially in this media-saturated age, that our children are thoroughly kind of saturated with stories about Krishna and our acharyas. I mean, I know too many kids who so-called grow up in the movement, and they're 14 and 15, and they don't know any of the stories of the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they're not familiar with any of them. Our character is shaped to a large extent by stories. Our character is shaped much more by stories than by admonition.
Right.
Be honest. Doesn't have that much of an effect. But if you're brought up with stories of honest people as the heroes. Right. And there's a whole science behind this, which we don't have time to get into today, but stories are, like Prabhupada said, examples better than precept. And that statement can be understood on many levels. But one is that we tend to, when we hear a story or read a story or see a story, we're kind of trying on the character. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
We're sort of, right? And if that character is worthy, then we're practicing being worthy when we're hearing, reading, seeing that story. So we really want to give our children stories about Krishna, about saintly persons, and at least about upright personalities, actually heroic personalities. And then we also want to make sure that our children have positive experiences with Krishna consciousness on an emotional, social level. We don't want to be we don't want them to associate the practice of sadhana or the practice of Krishna consciousness with being punished or
Pushed.
punished, pushed. Prabhupada says force, don't force.
Right.
I mean, some things we insist on, like you have to go to school, you have to brush your teeth, but even those things, we shouldn't be doing it in a way where the child's going to feel that they're being forced against their will.
Right.
But especially with Krishna consciousness, we want their association with kirtan, with japa, with worship, with reading, to be in a very emotionally supportive atmosphere. I mean, think about meals, right? We want meals to be a time that's emotionally supportive.
Absolutely.
Like you wouldn't want to yell at your kid during meals because it would actually negatively impact their digestion.
True.
And it might make them hate the food they're eating while you yell at them.
Absolutely.
So the same applies to spiritual nourishment.
It's amazing, Mataji. So you talked about having good relationships and appropriate engagement. I mean, just as a gist of all these things. Simple things.
And good stories.
And yes, fill them up.
And this positive emotional environment connected with Krishna consciousness.
Right. Fantastic. We could go on and on, Mataji. I don't
Yes,
feel
we
like
could.
leaving you, but I know you're in a rush. And
Well, I do have a plane to catch today.
yes, but we definitely hope and pray we can have you back soon in Auckland. It's not
Oh,
a new
thank
place
you.
for you.
Thank you.
And we'll have elaborate podcasts on separate topics like this and bring out the wisdom to people around. So thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
in.
very much for the
and sharing
opportunity.
with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.